The bell rang. It was the first day of school at Rose Hill High. Students laughed, talked, and ran through the hallways. Some wore shiny shoes, new bags, and branded jackets. And then came Alina. She walked slowly, holding her small bag close. Her shoes were old, her skirt had patches, and her sweater looked like it belonged to someone else. Because it did. It was her mother's, from years ago. As Alina walked into class, voices dropped. Then came the first laugh. "Hey, look at her sweater," one girl whispered. Another giggled. "Looks like it came from a garbage bin." Alina heard them. Everyone did, but she said nothing. She quietly found a seat in the back corner. Her eyes looked at the floor, but her mind, it was far away. A quiet girl with quiet pain. Alina lived with her grandmother in a small old house on the edge of the city. Her mother had passed away when she was just 5. Her father was never in the picture. Life wasn't easy. They didn't have much money. Most of Alina's things were hand-me-downs, used clothes, old books, second-hand school supplies. But her grandma always said, "We may be poor in things, but rich in heart." Still, school was hard. The mean girls. At lunch, Alina sat alone. The rich girls at the next table kept looking at her, whispering and laughing. "She wears that sweater every day," said Tina, the leader of the group. "I bet she doesn't even have a washing machine," another girl said. Alina picked up her tray and left. She didn't cry. She didn't speak. But deep inside her, something moved. Something she didn't understand. The wooden box. That night, after dinner, Alina sat alone in her small bedroom. She opened her drawer and pulled out an old wooden box. It had carvings on it, strange symbols, and one word on top, Alina. She had found it in the attic 2 months ago. Her grandma didn't know where it came from. Inside the box was a simple necklace with a dull blue stone. And a note. She read the note again. "You are more than what they see. You carry power, but power must wait. When the time is right, you'll feel it." Alina touched the stone. It was warm, but the room was cold. She closed her eyes. And for a second, the room flickered. The light bulb blinked. The curtains moved. But the windows were shut. The dream. That night, she had a strange dream. She was standing in a forest. The moon was full. A woman stood in front of her, tall, graceful, with long black hair and glowing eyes. The woman spoke softly. "You are her daughter, the one who held the blue fire, but your time is not yet. Stay calm until the storm." Then, the forest disappeared. The next day, Alina woke up early. She touched the necklace, then hid it under her sweater. At school, the bullying continued. Someone stuck a note to her locker. It said, "Go back to the jungle, trash girl." Another group of boys laughed as they passed by, holding their noses. But Alina didn't break. She held her books close. She sat in the back. She listened to every word the teacher said. And when the final bell rang, she quietly walked home, like nothing had happened. A spark in the dark. That evening, it started to rain. Alina stood by the window, watching the drops hit the glass. Her grandma was in the kitchen, humming an old song. She held the necklace again. Suddenly, a flash of lightning lit up the room. But it wasn't outside. It came from her hand. Just for a second, the stone in the necklace glowed blue. Alina jumped. "What was that?" she whispered. The box opened by itself. The note inside now had new words written on it. "You didn't choose the pain, but you must choose the path." Ending hook, suspense. Alina looked out the window. The rain fell harder. Far away, back at school, Tina and her friends were planning something cruel. Something big. Something that would break Alina in front of the whole school. But they had no idea. They didn't know what was inside her. They didn't know. She was not just a girl with hand-me-downs. She was something else. And soon, they would see. The rain didn't stop that night. Alina couldn't sleep. Her heart beat faster than normal. The glowing stone, the new words on the note, it all felt like a dream. But it wasn't. She sat up in bed, holding the necklace tightly. "You didn't choose the pain, but you must choose the path." She whispered those words again and again. What path? What pain? What power? Suddenly, the room became quiet. Too quiet. She looked around. Then, she heard it. A soft voice. Gentle, whispering. Do not fear your gift, Alina. Your mother had it too. Alina froze. Who? Who's they? She asked, eyes wide. But no one answered. Just the wind outside, tapping on the window. The next morning, the rain had stopped, but the sky was still gray. Alina walked to school, her head down. Her backpack strap had torn again, and she tied it with string. Her shoes made a strange sound with every step. At school, the whispers started the moment she walked in. Still wearing that sweater? Maybe she washes it in the river. Maybe she doesn't wash it at all. Tina smirked as she passed by. We have a surprise for you, trash girl. Alina didn't answer, but her fingers touched the necklace under her sweater. It was warm again, and in her ears, the voice whispered once more. Calm, still, silent strength. She didn't understand everything, but one thing was clear. This voice, it was guiding her. The kind stranger. During art class, something unusual happened. Mr. Hale, the art teacher, walked past her desk and stopped. He looked at her drawing. She had drawn a forest, almost the same as the one from her dream. In the middle stood a woman with glowing eyes. Mr. Hale's eyes widened. This is powerful, he said softly. Alina looked up, surprised. No one had ever called her work powerful. Mr. Hale leaned closer. Do you dream of this place? Alina nodded slowly. Sometimes. He smiled. Keep drawing. There's something special in your hands. That was the first kind word she had heard in days. The trap. At lunchtime, Tina and her group sat in a corner, whispering and laughing. They passed around a photo. It was a picture of Alina, taken without her knowing. In the photo, her sweater looked especially torn. Her socks didn't match. Someone had drawn cartoon flies around her. Tina grinned. Let's print 100 copies. Post them all over school tomorrow. Maybe even on the school website, said another girl. They all laughed. But something happened then. The lights in the cafeteria flickered. A cold breeze moved through the room. Some trays fell. A few kids screamed. Tina froze for a moment. What was that? Nobody knew. But far away in the hallway, Alina stood still. Her eyes closed, her hands shaking slightly. The whispers were louder now. Do not strike in anger. That is not your path. The mirror incident. In the girls' bathroom after lunch, Alina stood in front of the mirror. Her face looked tired. Her eyes had small bags under them. She touched her cheek gently. Why me? She whispered. Suddenly, the mirror flickered. Her reflection changed. For a second, she didn't see herself. She saw her mother. Standing tall, strong, wearing the same necklace, and behind her mother, darkness and light, fighting to take control. Alina gasped. Then the mirror returned to normal. The voice returns. That night, she sat in her room, the necklace glowing faintly again. The whisper came back. Your mother was mocked too, laughed at, hated. But she rose. You must decide. Will you rise or break? Alina clenched her fist. I don't want to be weak. Then listen. Learn. Wait. She looked back at her drawings. All of them showed her alone, quiet, lost. She picked up a pencil and began to draw something new. A girl standing on a stage, not scared, not crying, but shining. The sun was bright, but Alina's heart felt heavy. She walked toward school, holding her bag tightly. She had seen the look in Tina's eyes yesterday, the kind of look that meant trouble. She whispered to herself, stay calm, like the voice said, like Mama would. The necklace around her neck felt warmer today, like it was trying to warn her. The trap is set. When Alina walked into her classroom, she knew something was wrong. The room went silent, too silent. She saw students looking at her, then quickly looking away. A few giggled. Some covered their mouths. She reached her desk and froze. On her chair lay a printed photo. It was her. That photo Tina took. Except now, The image was edited. Her head was big. Her clothes had cartoon patches drawn on them. And the title said, Jungle Fashion Queen. Alina felt her stomach twist. Her hands shook. She looked around. More photos were taped on the walls, on the backboard, on lockers. They were everywhere. Laughter filled the room. Tina stood proudly in the middle. Don't you love it? She said with a smile. It's our gift to you, Jungle Girl. The push. Alina picked up one of the photos. Her eyes burned, but no tears came. She walked toward Tina. Everyone stared. Was she going to shout? Cry? Hit? Tina didn't move. She laughed again. Then, just as Alina was about to speak, Tina shoved her. It wasn't hard, but it was loud. Alina stumbled, falling to the floor. A few kids gasped, some laughed. But Alina stayed down for just a second. Then she stood back up. Her eyes met Tina's. And for a second, just one, Tina stepped back. Because Alina's eyes had changed. They weren't angry. They were calm. Still, strong. And glowing just a little. The crack in the air. Suddenly, the classroom lights flickered. The posters on the wall began to shake. A cold wind passed through the room, but all the windows were closed. Pencils rolled off desks. Everyone looked around. What's happening? Someone whispered. Alina looked down at her hands. They were warm, buzzing with a strange energy. She clenched her fists. But she remembered the voice. Do not strike in anger. That is not your path. So instead, she turned away. She walked out of the classroom, quiet and steady. A moment alone. Alina sat alone behind the school building. She looked at the necklace, now glowing faint blue. I don't want to hurt anyone, she whispered. But I also don't want to be nothing. The voice returned. You are not nothing. You are power waiting to be born. But real power is not loud. It is controlled. Alina closed her eyes. She saw her mother again, in a forest, surrounded by wind and fire. But calm. Peaceful. Then the dream shifted. This time, it was Alina, standing on a stage, holding out her hands, creating light from the air. She opened her eyes. The teacher notices. That afternoon, Mr. Hale asked her to stay after class. I know something's happening, Alina, he said gently. I see it in your drawings, and I felt it, today. Alina looked at him, afraid. I don't know what it is, she said, but it's inside me. Mr. Hale smiled. Then use it well. Don't let them decide who you are. He handed her a small notebook. Draw what you feel. One day, it'll help others understand you. She took the notebook, holding it close. For the first time in a long time, she smiled. The plan revealed. Tina wasn't done. That night, she sent a group message to the whole class. Tomorrow is the talent show. Let's make it a real show. You know what to do? The plan was simple. Make Alina perform. Make her trip. Make the whole school laugh. They didn't know about the whispers. They didn't know about the gift. They didn't know what was about to come. The day of the school talent show had arrived. Rose Hill High was buzzing with excitement. The big auditorium was filled with students, teachers, and even some parents. Everyone was talking, laughing, and waiting for the show to begin. But in the corner of the crowd sat a girl with tired shoes and an old sweater. Alina. She looked small in that big room. But inside her, something big was waking up. A cruel idea backstage. Tina and her gang whispered their final plan. She's not even performing, said one girl. Tina smirked. She will. I signed her name. What if she says no? She won't, Tina said confidently. She's too scared. She'll go on stage, freeze up, and boom. Everyone will laugh. They laughed together. Loud, cruel. But they didn't know. They had just lit a fire. The whisper grows stronger. Alina sat quietly, holding her notebook and the wooden box with her necklace. The glow from the stone had faded, but she still felt its warmth. Then she heard it again. That calm, soft voice. They push you toward the fire. But you will not burn. You will shine. She closed her eyes. A breeze brushed her face. Inside the building. She stood up. She wasn't scared anymore. The host calls her name. On stage, the host announced, "Next up, we have Alina performing a surprise act." The crowd clapped, surprised. Some students whispered, "Alina? Who's that?" Tina smiled wide. "Here it comes," she whispered. Alina walked to the stage slowly. Each step felt heavy, but she didn't stop. The lights above shone bright. She stood in the center, holding only her notebook. There was no music, no microphone, just silence. A performance like no other. Alina took a deep breath. She opened the notebook. Page by page, she turned it toward the audience. Every page had a drawing. The first one showed a little girl wearing torn clothes, alone at lunch. The second showed kids pointing, laughing. The third was a dark room, with the same girl crying into her pillow. The crowd went quiet. Then came a drawing of an old woman hugging the girl. A dream. A glowing necklace. A blue fire. The pages told a story, a real story. Her story. But more than that, it was their story too. The pain of being different. The strength of staying silent. And the fire hidden deep inside. The blue flame. On the last page, the girl stood tall, on stage, with light all around her. Just then, a wind swept across the stage. Her necklace glowed. Soft blue light surrounded her. The curtains fluttered. The microphone buzzed, even though she wasn't speaking. Gasps filled the air. Students stood up. Even the teachers were speechless. Mr. Hale watched with a hand over his mouth. It was like the drawings had come alive, not with special effects, but with truth. Tina's shock. Backstage, Tina stared in disbelief. What is happening? She felt cold. It wasn't just the wind. It was fear. For the first time, she was the quiet one. The standing ovation. When Alina finished, she closed the notebook. For a moment, no one moved. Then, clap, clap, clap. The whole room stood and clapped. Some were crying. Some shouted, "That was beautiful." Alina didn't smile big. She just gave a small nod and walked off stage. She had said nothing, but she had spoken to everyone. The principal's words. After the show, the principal came to Alina. "That was not just talent," she said softly. "That was truth." Mr. Hale added, "You reminded us all, that power doesn't always shout." Alina looked at both of them and said only one thing. "I just told my story." The school didn't look the same anymore. Not to Alina, not after the talent show. Something had changed. The students who once laughed at her now looked at her with wide eyes. They whispered in the halls, but not with cruelty, with curiosity, with respect. Some even nodded at her. Some smiled. A few even said, "Hi." A message from her past. The next morning, when Alina opened her locker, she found a small envelope. There was no name on it. Inside was a photo. An old one. Her mother, wearing the same necklace. She was standing with a group of people. Strong, proud, and smiling. On the back of the photo, in fading ink, it said, "We don't hide our light. We rise with it." Alina's fingers trembled. She looked up, her heart pounding. Who left it? Who still remembered her mother? And why now? Tina's rage. Far away in the cafeteria, Tina slammed her tray down. Why is everyone acting like she's some kind of star? She just showed a few stupid drawings. One of her friends looked nervous. Maybe people liked the story? She's a freak, Tina snapped. She walks around with glowing stones and dead girl sweaters. She's not special. But her voice didn't sound strong anymore. It sounded scared, because deep inside she knew Alina wasn't the same girl anymore. She had something. And Tina didn't. The spark rose. That week, Alina noticed something beautiful. A boy from another class, who always sat alone, came up to her and said, "Your pictures. They help me. I get bullied too." She didn't say much, just smiled and gave him a blank page. "Draw your own power," she said. By the next day, 2 more students showed her their drawings. The day after that, 5. In just 1 week, she started something new. The quiet wall. A wall near the art room where students posted drawings of their pain, their dreams, their strength. No talking, just truth. And it grew every day, like a quiet army rising. A dangerous choice, but Tina wasn't done. She needed control again. So she made a new plan. This time, not a prank, but something darker. She and her group created a fake letter, pretending to be from the principal. It invited Alina to a special awards ceremony after school. But when Alina arrived at the empty gym, no teachers were there. Only shadows. And voices. Laughing. The confrontation. Alina stood in the middle of the gym. The lights above flickered. Tina stepped out from the shadows with 3 other girls. No audience this time, she said. Just us. Alina didn't move. She held the necklace, now warm again. Why do you hate me so much? She asked. Tina laughed. Because you're nothing, and people treat you like you're everything. Alina's voice was calm. No, I'm just not afraid to be seen. Tina pushed her. Harder this time. Say something now, Jungle Queen. Alina closed her eyes. The wind returned. The gym doors slammed shut. The air turned cold. Her necklace glowed bright blue. And her feet rose just slightly off the floor. The rise. Her eyes opened. Blue fire danced in her pupils. The air around her shimmered. The other girls stepped back, terrified. What is she? Alina's voice echoed, not loud, but powerful. You tried to bury me in shame, but I rose in light. The basketballs rolled across the gym floor by themselves. The ceiling lights beamed brighter, then dimmed. But then, Alina floated gently back down, and the fire faded. She looked at Tina. I won't hurt you, but you'll remember this moment. And with that, she walked out, silent, steady, and shining. The school didn't look the same anymore. Not to Alina. Not after the talent show. Something had changed. The students who once laughed at her now looked at her with wide eyes. They whispered in the halls, but not with cruelty, with curiosity, with respect. Some even nodded at her. Some smiled. A few even said hi. A message from her past. The next morning, when Alina opened her locker, she found a small envelope. There was no name on it. Inside was a photo. An old one. Her mother, wearing the same necklace. She was standing with a group of people, strong, proud, and smiling. On the back of the photo, in fading ink, it said, "We don't hide our light. We rise with it." Alina's fingers trembled. She looked up, her heart pounding. Who left it? Who still remembered her mother? And why now? Tina's rage. Far away in the cafeteria, Tina slammed her tray down. Why is everyone acting like she's some kind of star? She just showed a few stupid drawings. One of her friends looked nervous. Maybe people like the story? She's a freak, Tina snapped. She walks around with glowing stones and dead girl sweaters. She's not special. But her voice didn't sound strong anymore. It sounded scared, because deep inside, she knew. Alina wasn't the same girl anymore. She had something. And Tina didn't. The spark rose. That week, Alina noticed something beautiful. A boy from another class, who always sat alone, came up to her and said, "Your pictures, they helped me. I get bullied too." She didn't say much, just smiled and gave him a blank page. "Draw your own power," she said. By the next day, 2 more students showed her their drawings. The day after that, 5. In just 1 week, she started something new. The quiet wall. A wall near the art room where students posted drawings of their pain, their dreams, their strength. No talking, just truth. And it grew every day, like a quiet army rising. A dangerous choice, but Tina wasn't done. She needed control again. So she made a new plan. This time, not a prank, but something darker. She and her group created a fake letter, pretending to be from the principal. It invited Alina to a special awards ceremony after school. But when Alina arrived at the empty gym, no teachers were there. Only shadows. And voices. Laughing. The confrontation. Alina stood in the middle of the gym. The lights above flickered. Tina stepped out from the shadows with 3 other girls. "No audience this time," she said. "Just us." Alina didn't move. She held the necklace, now warm again. "Why do you hate me so much?" she asked. Tina laughed. "Because you're nothing, and people treat you like you're everything." Alina's voice was calm. "No, I'm just not afraid to be seen." Tina pushed her. "Harder this time. Say something now, Jungle Queen." Alina closed her eyes. The wind returned. The gym doors slammed shut. The air turned cold. Her necklace glowed bright blue. And her feet rose just slightly off the floor. The rise. Her eyes opened. Blue fire danced in her pupils. The air around her shimmered. The other girls stepped back, terrified. "What is she?" Alina's voice echoed, not loud, but powerful. "You tried to bury me in shame, but I rose in light." The basketballs rolled across the gym floor by themselves. The ceiling lights beamed brighter, then dimmed. But then, Alina floated gently back down, and the fire faded. She looked at Tina. "I won't hurt you, but you'll remember this moment." And with that, she walked out, silent, steady, and shining. Alina thought the worst was behind her. She had stood tall. She had faced the bullies. She had shown her power. But something strange was happening now. Something colder. A feeling of being watched. It started with a whisper, not from inside her, not the warm voice of strength. This whisper felt wrong. It came from outside, from the shadows. When she walked to school, she felt it. Eyes. Watching. Not curious, not kind, but hunting. The strange man. After school one day, as she walked home, Alina saw a man standing by the parkgate. He wore a black coat and a hat that covered most of his face. He didn't speak. He didn't move. But when she passed him, she felt the cold air again. The kind that made her skin crawl. She turned to look back. But he was gone. Just like smoke. Mr. Hale's warning. The next morning, Mr. Hale called her to his desk. He looked worried. "There's something you should know," he said. "A woman came by yesterday, said she knew your mother." Alina's heart skipped. "What did she say?" "She asked about your drawings, about your necklace." Mr. Hale leaned in closer. "She didn't smile, Alina. She asked strange questions. Too many questions." He paused. "And when she left, the air in my room turned ice cold." Alina felt her hand tighten around the necklace. Something was coming. Something her mother never warned her about. A dream that wasn't a dream. That night, Alina had another dream. Except this time, it didn't feel like a dream. She stood in a dark forest. The trees whispered. The stars above flickered like candles. Then she saw her mother. But she looked tired, her light dim. "Alina," her mother said. "They know." "Who?" Alina asked. "The Watchers." "Why now?" "Because you lit the flame." Her mother touched the necklace gently. "You are strong, but you are still learning. You must find the circle." "What circle?" But her mother was already fading. The dream ended in cold silence. A visit from the past. The next day, a letter came. No stamp, no return address, just her name. Inside was a folded note. "Your mother once saved many. Now they must save you." Midnight, Willow Lake. There was no signature, but the writing looked familiar, as if it had been written by someone from the photo, someone from her mother's past. The journey begins. That night, she left quietly. She didn't tell anyone. Only the wind knew her secret. She walked through the empty streets, past the park, and down to Willow Lake. The moon reflected in the water like a silver mirror. At exactly midnight, a boat arrived. No one was rowing it, but it stopped in front of her, as if waiting. Alina stepped in. The necklace glowed gently, and the boat began to move on its own. The circle of flame. On the other side of the lake, hidden in trees, was a small cabin. Inside were 6 people. Old, young, all different colors and faces. They wore simple clothes, but their eyes glowed with soft light. One woman stepped forward. "Alina," she said, "we are the Circle of Flame. Your mother once trained with us." Alina didn't speak. She only listened. "You carry her light, but now that light is a target." Another man added, "There are people in this world who fear what they don't understand. They call themselves the Watchers, and they destroy what they fear." Alina finally asked, "What do they want?" The woman looked her in the eye. "They want your flame or your silence." The fire was no longer just inside her. It was all around her. Alina stood in the center of the circle of flame. The cabin's walls glowed with soft blue light as the wind outside howled. The old woman, Isha, raised her hand. "Tonight, you must face the test." Alina looked into her eyes. "What test?" Isha said only one word: truth. "A storm is coming back in the city." The Watchers were ready. The man in the black coat, known only as the Collector, spoke into his earpiece. "Move in, no more hiding." Cars rolled silently through the night. Their windows were black. Their lights were off. They stopped near the lake. Inside the cars were people with gloves, machines and weapons that didn't look human. They weren't here to talk. They were here to take the girl. The fire trial. In the cabin, Isha placed a bowl of water in front of Alina. "Look inside. What do you see?" Alina looked into the water. At first, nothing. Then slowly, she saw herself. But it wasn't her now. It was the little girl, alone, crying, wearing her old torn sweater. The one they laughed at. The one who hid. And then, the water turned red. Tina's face appeared, laughing. The girls who pushed her. The pain. The shame. Alina closed her eyes. She clenched her fists. And suddenly, the bowl shattered. The fire in the room flared up. "I don't want to be that girl anymore," she shouted. Aisha nodded. "Then be who you truly are." Alina opened her eyes, and they glowed. The attack, the cabin shook. Outside, lights flashed. The Watchers had arrived. Doors burst open. Figures in black ran in. But something was different. This time, Alina didn't freeze. She didn't hide. She stood tall. The fight of light and shadows. The air turned cold. The Collector stepped into the room. He looked at Alina. "So, this is the little flame." Alina stared back. "You fear me." "No," he said. "I fear what you could become." He raised a black device. But before he could use it, boom! Blue fire exploded from Alina's necklace. It wrapped around her like armor. The Watchers screamed and stumbled back. The circle of flame joined in, hands raised, eyes glowing. The entire room lit up like the sun. Shadows had no place to hide. The Collector covered his face and shouted, "Fall back." But it was too late. Alina had awakened. The final stand. The Collector tried one last time. He threw a black net toward Alina, but she raised her hands, and the net melted in midair. She stepped forward. "You tried to break me," she said, voice steady. "But every time you did, I burned brighter." She placed her hand on the ground. The earth trembled. Flames drew a line between her and the Watchers. "You will not touch me again." And just like that, the Watchers vanished into the night, defeated. For now, a new day. The next morning, the sun rose over Willow Lake. Alina stood on the water's edge. The wind was calm. The fire in her necklace now glowed softly, not with anger, but with peace. Aisha walked to her side. "You're not the same girl who came here." Alina smiled. "No, I'm more." Aisha nodded. "And this world will try to dim you again. But now you know. Your flame is not just for you. It's for those still in the dark." Alina looked at her reflection in the water. This time, she didn't see the scared girl. She saw a leader, a light. Final message for the audience. At school, days later, a new wall was painted near the entrance. In big letters, it said, "The fire they laughed at became the light they followed." Kids from every grade came to draw, to write, to cry, to heal. Tina passed by. She didn't speak, but she stopped, and looked at one of Alina's drawings. It was of a girl hugging her own shadow, and above it, the words, "We all have darkness, but we can choose light." Tina wiped her eyes quietly and walked away.